mouth. Like, for instance, about this Casie versus BoarControl match that we have going on, which is a 120 for 120 card mirror of what we just saw, where Casie has protected his warrior in this matchup. Boar has protected his priest in the matchup, and just like the one we saw previously, Casey's had his priest banned away, and Boar's had his druid banned away.
Yeah, we could just about sit in silence and just have them roll the last 5 minutes of fill we had during the technical issues where we broke all this down. It's exactly the same scenario. It's the same situation we were talking about in the same series. In the last series, it's the same situation as we were just having the discussion with Bunny Hopper about. There's really not too much more to set up. It just, so I personally hope for Casey's sanity, and there is no bias on my part. Usually I am 100% biased towards Casie. I am 100% biased towards BoarControl. In this scenario, I love them both. They're two of my favorite Hearthstone players. I have zero bias coming into this, but for Casey's sanity, I hope that he does not go through the same kind of experience that he went through last time he had to play this lineup.
No comment.
Fair enough.
I will say, when you keep a Town Crier and 2 more Restless Mummies show up, it's a bit redundant. It does mean you don't have to play the Town Crier on one. I like to look at the bright side of
yeah,
things.
I mean, that kind of helps, right? It's just a cleric chilling.
Like, a lot of people say the glass is half full or it's half empty or whatever. The glass is always full. It's just what the glass is full of.
Your glass is certainly full of something.
All right, I see how it is.
Come on, it was
No.
It was low hanging fruit.
Don't worry about it. You don't have to explain yourself. Don't worry about it. I get it.
You can't just set me up like that. Come on. Oh, he's mad. He's actually mad. He's actually mad. I've upset him.
I was trying to figure out a way around that, actually, because I was like, man, I really wanted to make my glasses full of air joke. So I just did this instead. It worked out.
Yeah. That's my one for the day. I probably can't make that a thing, can I?
I don't know. Give it a shot. The glass is always full. Your glass is always full of something.
Ooh, it's come full circle. What hasn't come full circle is BoarControl's priest hand, because it is missing one key ingredient.
Yeah, well, there's a circle there. It's just not the circle you're looking for. And you mentioned keeping Brawl in the matchup. I think this is a demonstration of why.
Yep. Sometimes they just curve out and play things, and then you just brawl them and start again from there. Like, that is legitimately a way the matchup goes sometimes.
Yeah. So for Casie now, I think the timing on Town Crier is A. He doesn't want to give Boar draws early in the face of him not having anything to do. I think that if Boar wants the draws now, what that means is Casey's potentially taking less damage. He's adding a 1-2 on the board that prompts an attack, saves him some HP, gets the Ziliax out of his deck. There's a lot of things that Town Crier being delayed accomplished here for Casie, leading into this potential brawl.
Yep. Boar does have to think long and hard about it, though. It's like, whoa, it wasn't played on one. It's come from the opening hand. What does that mean for me? It did draw a card. Does that help him develop any reads on the situation as to what Casey's hand is?
Remember the other day when I said sometimes with Warrior stuff, I just like to do things differently to throw my opponents off?
Yes.
Casie didn't do that here, but I think it can be sometimes perceived that way.
Might just have the similar effect, yeah.
Just take up mental space, thinking about something that perhaps isn't relevant.
BoarControl goes in hard here, pre-brawl. Means if the coin brawl does come down, he has an 8/8 that can win, he has a Northshire Cleric that can win, and he has a Light Warden that can win. That's 3 pretty good outcomes for him from this brawl, giving himself a 60% chance to be in a good spot. Fine, middling outcome.
Psychopomp and Power Word Shield.
Too much health on the board. Overload that Dynomatic.
Overloads the Restless Mummy kind of too.
Yeah.
Restless Mummy's still going to peel a lot off board. So that beckons the question for me then. Is Injured Blade Master heal a better outcome?
Maybe. So what do you have? You have a 4/5 and a 5/2. So there's 7 health on board. Restless Mummy can only make 2 attacks, so he only gets to kill 1 minion.
Something I'm thinking about, though,
Ziliax is kind of scary in that spot.
I'm kind of thinking of the outcomes from Psychopomp and what the super beneficial ones actually mean for you.
Sure.
Ooh. Ooh.
Plays the top decked one for the tilter. I do think Boar might be, like, this is kind of what I was getting at with, like, can he get some kind of weird read here? Like, maybe the fact that 2 Restless Mummies were in hand influenced the fact that Towncrier wasn't played on 1, which is exactly what happened, but maybe BoarControl can also make that read, so therefore he knows when the Towncrier was played, it did draw Ziliax, so therefore he wants to Power Word Shield his Light Warden so that Ziliax can't just run into it.
Think wise of Casie, just pay attention to the biggest minion here. Northshire Cleric is scary, but it's not drawing any cards right now.
Especially when you're at 15.
Ooh, boy.
Draw.
I got you, friend.
Not massively impactful right now, but it does activate an awful lot of cards for the future to be good draws in this position.
This is a tough spot from Casie.
If you brawl here, there is almost always an injured Northshire Cleric on your opponent's
I
board.
was just about to say, I think my instinct was to Plague of Wrath.
Plague of Wrath cuts down the damage a lot.
And when you said that the brawl leaves the injured Northshire Cleric, in my head, it pieced it together why my instinct was to Plague of Wrath.
Yep.
I literally couldn't verbalize it.
Almost literally every outcome except the Northshire Cleric itself winning leaves an injured minion and a Cleric on the board, right?
So for Casie now, it's about shutting down and isolating these. So for BoarControl, there's 2 copies of Wild Pyromancer in the deck, or 1? 1 copy of Wild Pyromancer. If Casie can keep these Northshire Clerics isolated, I think that buys him time to potentially find that swing he's looking for. Because this isn't a lot of damage that's pouring in on Boar's side. It's just a lot of potential threat.
Yes. And I think if a threat does come down that, you know, over-contests the Northshire Cleric, I think Boar will be very interested in using that Divine Spirit for a buff just so he can draw some cards with Circle of Healing. And it's only a 3-path right now, not quite good enough. In fact, almost immediately counterintuitive. Takes healthy clerics and turns them into injured clerics. That's not what you want to do. I think this Divine Spirit might have to be cycled. Oh, now this Divine Spirit is absolutely getting cycled.
So Spirit 1. Bump.
Doesn't want to give up the healing. Take 3, heal for 2.
Wow, this turn is going to be insane.
Apparently that Circle of Healing physically hurt Casey's hand.
I mean, Casie can, like, die here sometimes. It wasn't, I mean, it had to be a pretty picture-perfect series of draws.
Okay.
It's just you're trying to choke out resources from BoarControl's side, so when he's able to make turns like this happen, like, goodness, you start to get really worried.
Admirable. Have you ever seen the rare triple Northshire?
I have done it once. I almost instantaneously regret it, but I don't think you regret it here.
Yes!
It's kind of funny.
And you all thought double Northshire was full Northshire. There's 4 clerics on this board.
Boar didn't get the Power Word Shield off. I wonder if that's relevant. I don't think it is. I'm just nervous for both of them.
Just screenshot this. Hearthstone in 2019.
Casie is under serious threat of being lethaled every turn for the rest of the game now.
Yes, that is certainly accurate. Can I interest you in a 4-path? Do you die then? Sometimes, right?
The answer is always sometimes from here on out.
Does this die less often?
I believe so, yeah.
1 or 2 silences have been used. Just the one, I think, right? There's the second one. I'm not sure this dies less often.
I did say I believe so.
No, I know, and it's super tight. Like, I'm not convinced that it doesn't either. I'm just asking the question because Topsy-Turvy eliminates one of your taunts this way, right? Because in the Warpath world, these 3 minions on the right are all dead. So in the equivalent world that we're in right now, a Topsy-Turvy means that 2 minions die plus 1 of your taunts, and then a Circle of Healing. Oh, sorry, a Silence kills the other one. And then the Cleric is still healthy, so you take their Circle of Healing out of the equation. No, I think this is better. Okay, I've convinced myself.
It's so tough for Boar because, like, he's about to draw the rest of his deck and go 2 points into fatigue if he makes the circle happen.
Yeah.
And he's got to figure the rest of this out. He's going to be burning 2 cards if you use this circle first right now. You're burning a card this way. You're burning 2 cards this way. And so with that, that's Divine Spirit. That's 16.
Silence trade Topsy? Does he still have an attack left for the Topsy? Does the 4/4 still attack?
The 4/4 already attacked.
Okay. Fine.
Casey's got to win from 3 right now, and Boar has a reborn minion in play with an extra arms in hand.
Yep. Hecklebot seems like a very good card right now. Depending on exactly what that last card was.
Oh, boy.
Injured?
Oh, boy. That's a massive outcome.
If you're just going to win the brawl, no need to run the risk on the Hecklebot whatsoever. Clear the board. Clear the board. You don't die from 3. Clear the board. You don't die from 1, because these decks aren't playing Holy Ripple.
This is Boar's last card in the deck. This is the hand he's got to win with.
I see a dark future.
Still a hand, though. But this Hecklebot now does become a massive problem for BoarControl on the following turn.
Casie knows exactly what he's in store for. He knows exactly what's available left to BoarControl.
Yep. The bad news is that one of those cards is Topsy-Turvy, so all of these minions do threaten lethal. From Boar's side, he's seen the Ziliacs, he's seen 2 Restless Mummies, he's seen 2 Brawls, he's seen a Plague of Wrath. What else is he concerned about? Almost exclusively Hecklebot in this position, weirdly enough. Oh, is that the second one? Oh!
Wow. I think that's a closer. When Casie can solve it, that's when he takes time.
Says the Light Warden is the one that I'm scared of.
That's the one that gets big enough to kill a Hecklebot. Straight up.
Yep. The others need to be Topsied to be able to challenge this. If the Topsy gets used, then Casie has the chance to kill the Topsied minion before it gets to go face, so this makes sense to me.
Yeah, you can't break through that.
He has to play his other 2 minions, one of which is an Acolyte of Pain.
Yeah, playing an Acolyte of Pain sounds like a recipe for disaster. Like, you get a 1/9.
I must
But when your opponent's at 5, But when you're in fatigue, you haven't seen Dynamatic or Warpath, your opponent's got the board. Yeah, I don't want to do those things.
But it pushes the one, Admirable.
Gallon approved.
I must consider.
Maybe you actually do play the Acolyte, but you top seed, you play the Bonsomdi, you top seed the Amet, you kill a Hecklebot, and then you play the Acolyte so that it only has 1 health? So that you represent the 1 damage with it.
Interesting.
I mean, it's as tight as can be right now, right?
Yep. See the 7-9. Okay, sure. Yeah, I'm almost certain healing a minion at random would be better than healing your face there. So even if Boar could,
Huge draw.
even if Boar couldn't quite decide which one, I'm glad he healed a minion in the end.
I think Casie was going to get out of this one either way. I think he had a way to stave this off, but the shield block takes away so much of the calculation and potential to misstep.
Right.
Accurate Boar face.
I wonder.
Light the fuses!
That'll do. That lets him value trade a minion. And that locks out the game.
Let's value trade both.
Wait, what?
Oh, I see what you mean. Value trade away one of.
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's checkmate.
You have best.
Game 1 over to Casie. Warrior versus Priest. What a stressful battle that was for Casie. My goodness. I'll tell you what, he probably did not feel very good when Boar drew about 14 million cards in one single turn. But as it got down to the end, like, Boar started to feel it too. He's like, wait a minute, I'm just out of cards.
Yeah, like, genuinely, you know, the full nausea thing is a proper vintage old school Hearthstone meme. But, you know, generally it was only advice for the Priest Mirror, and a lot of times just more is more when it comes to how many nausea clerics you have in play. But you do see the problem there where Boar got to the point where I think the 3rd cleric was valid, because it was the 3rd cleric that filled up his hand in the first place. But when he then got to the position where he had to burn, the last 3 cards of his deck off that draw because he had 3 clerics in play, that's when it became a slight issue for him. And again, it's complicated by the fact that you spend 30 seconds of that turn thinking, do I have lethal? You spend the next 15 seconds saying, okay, no, if I don't, what's the best play? Then you spend 10 seconds going, no, hang on, I do have lethal. And then you go back to the start again and you try and figure it out. Then you realize you don't have lethal. Then all of a sudden the rope has appeared and then you have to make a combo priest turn.
Yes.
And it's a nightmare. It's happened to me so many times in that situation. I think Boar did something approaching pretty good in the position that he ended up with. He just did end up burning a couple of key cards off the top as well.
And then for Casie on that other side, the Plague of Wrath turn, where it feels a little bit weird because you're still leaving Northshire Cleric there.
Yep.
His game plan was pretty straightforward once he had gone down that route. It was isolate Northshire Clerics because the threat then comes specifically from hand at that point. It has to be buffed up Northshire Cleric and connect. And so taking the risk on the Brawl, I think pretty key for Casie in that instance. It made things so much easier once he wins the Brawl in that spot. And if he loses Brawl, still some checks and balances to the other side, albeit a much more difficult game if that's the case. But that is Control Warrior in a nutshell, is weighing the odds and weighing your risk versus reward and then capitalizing and trying to make the most of it. And so I think given the circumstance, Casie did a pretty fantastic job at that.
Yeah, I did originally flinch at the Brawl just a little bit because if the big minion wins, then the big minion wins, and you're kind of upset about it. But if the big minion wins, you know you've seen both silences, so you can just drop your Hecklebot to contest it straight up, and then it crashes into your Hecklebot 100% of the time because they have no way from hand to deal with that. And then suddenly you've got things like Dynamatic, Shield Slam, whatever else, all these outs from hand, plus your draws from the next turn to be able to deal with it. So I think the Brawl was a smart risk. I think it was a good risk. I think it paid off for Casie in a huge way.
No early 1-drop for BoarControl. circles means you got 1 to spare. Start the clock.
Also, just in general against Druid, don't get Wrathed on turn 3.
Ooh, yeah.
That's kind of how they win.
Power takes measure.
Love this. I feel like we don't see enough of these poison Lotis coming down in the early game.
It's just a 1-2.
Especially against the Pyromancer, the one Pyromancer version of the deck that BoarControl is running.
How much interest does BoarControl have in doing that?
Some. I will say I have done this in this matchup and then looked at the board I left myself with afterwards and gone, I actually don't like this very much. Like, why did I do this?
I don't know. I think Wild Pyro Coin Divine Spirit's looking pretty good.
I think so too. I think I specifically had a much worse situation.
I guess the question is, are you delivering pressure fast enough? You're giving up a lot of cards. You're not drawing any in the meantime. Maybe you kind of let the Lodi do its thing.
Sacrificing your Pyro for your Cleric draw. You can just play Acolyte of Pain if you want to here.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Acolyte.
Chill out, draw some cards with Pyromancer next turn, draw a Cleric, draw your deck.
You just said, though, don't get wrapped.
I know.
But you said turn 2.
I did say turn 2.
Does that apply to turn 4? Ah, that game is so hard!
To play with fire.
I think all things considered, this is the best outcome for Boar.
I do like it. I do like it. It just feels so weird that you just like used your Pyromancer to just blow itself up, essentially.
Blocks for the 2-9.
Yeah.
Get in there, Tolvir. We need you, bud.
Let the pain speak to me.
Casie now a turn behind on quest completion because of that War Druid Loti Gambit that he tried. I do like it though. Again, I think the really important point to note there is that Boar is running a 1 Pyromancer list. That is very unlikely to have happened. The vast majority of the time.
Oh boy.
The vast majority of the time, Casie challenges this 2-9 with his poisonous minion, or at least he prevents it from happening. Instead, the nightmare scenario has come to fruition, where not only is there an inner fire to get this damage rolling, but there is the card in the matchup alongside that as well, High Priest Ahmet.
And this isn't an inner fire on just a minion, it's on a taunt minion. So that Ahmet's not getting reached at all right now. Imagine a world where Boar doesn't go in here.
I'm trying. I'm trying to imagine it. Is he considering what trade first Circle of Healing looks like instead of pushing? Does that change anything significant?
Move quickly.
I see
It does,
dark
right?
future.
He must think so, because that's the play he's doing.
It's a consideration for filling up his turn 6, because it's nothing right now.
Come again?
Well, it's turn 6, he doesn't have anything to do. So the goal is to restrict the options from Casie.
But how does his turn 6 change on whether his opponent has a 3-2 or not?
I'm thinking about the following turn for Casie. Like, BoarControl accomplishes a number of goals here. Number 1, he keeps his things safe from, like, Swipe Wrath.
Okay.
Number 2 is he gives himself something to do on turn 6 with his trade, which is kill more stuff that keeps your opponent from doing stuff to your stuff. I think it's a compounding issue, right? Like, instead of going all in on the damage, he's going all in on saying, instead of needing the damage, I'm just going to secure a giant board position. It's kind of tough to say. I liked 10 damage. Would have been more than that, actually.
It was 8 or 9. So actually, I guess he's playing around Starfall specifically in that case. By making it 10, taking the trade first, he skips 10 damage to protect his thing against Starfall, because otherwise the 3-2 would just run in and Starfall him.
What was the capped health on? It was 10? Is that right?
The inner fire before the heal would have been for 9, I believe. It would have been a 9-9.
Well, so let's just say you circle first. What's the health on the Tolvir go to?
What bust does it have on it?
11, apparently.
There you go. Yeah, I think it's specifically Starfall that he's looking at. It makes sense to me now. It's a big cost to miss that much damage, though. does start to give your opponent a whole bunch of time to dig their way out of it. You do get to keep a 10-11, and that's a really big deal.
Whoa, is that better?
Where are you putting it? Blade Master?
Yeah.
It's a really good arms.
No, that's a silly thought.
It's a really good arms, but it doesn't draw your deck.
Yeah, it's a silly thought. I feel like it's a really silly thought. There's no way I'm not drawing all these cards. You haven't drawn a single 1-drop.
It pushes the 10, though.
I wonder.
Look, we didn't push the 10 versus a Panther. Give me my cards. Because the possibilities here are...
I mean, this 10 gets pushed without having to worry about Starfall.
Ah, it's true. I mean,
You have a 10-11 against a 3-5 at the end of it.
so you're sacking off the this guy then?
Yep.
Wow. That just feels so unintuitive, but I get you have Bwonsamdi in hand. I guess it's like, what does the extra thing on board do? Like push the 10, have the Ahmet, play the Bwonsamdi afterwards. That does result in a Panther plus Starfall killing off this 10, though.
Oh.
2 Power of the Wild in the deck for Casie.
I mean, this feels like a spend your mana kind of hand to me. Whoa. Was that legitimately pointed at the Ahmet? Or was it just spectator issues?
I'm just going to wait and see what he does.
Is that ever a real thing? Your opponent's
I mean, you might as well think about it. It's the only play you got.
Your opponent's on a 1-card hand, and they roped into the tank. Boar, not known as being a roper, on a decision on a play that looked fantastic. Is specifically Bwonsamdi a read that you can have? Maybe, right?
I think if it's specifically Bwonsamdi, this works out better. Bwonsamdi goes to 4.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to, like, obviously your play changes based on what you think your opponent's 1 card is. I'm just making the argument that I think it's Bwonsamdi there, and I think you can make a play based on that. Some of the time.
Well, Casey's got his work cut out for him.
It just drew all 6.
Yeah.
I forgot
I mean-
I've drew all 6.
I must consider.
Yeah, I think even Casey's he's like, okay, I see how it's going to be.
Yeah. You got to protect this Ahmet, don't you?
I mean, you both have your top end. I don't think you have to protect the Ahmet here.
Quickly.
You think these 1-drops can just be 1-drops this game?
I think you should protect the Ahmet here.
Okay.
I don't think you have to.
I think you have to.
Trent.
Yeah, well, shut up. Protect the Ahmet.
Protection from Starfall number 2 as well there by getting up to 3.
Not protection
look
from
at Boar's
Oasis
reaction.
Surger. Oh my, that is a huge draw from Casie.
Oh. Value trades all day for me. I think that 7-4 gets
I want to
live.
kill the 7-4
Do
real
you?
bad. That thing is 7, the other is 1.
But now you could have had a guy that was 4, and instead you've got a guy that was dead.
Yeah, we could have been taking 7, and instead we're taking 0.
If the 7 goes face, you're potentially ahead on board next turn. Or like you start the turn in a position where you have an over-contested minute.
You know there's another beaming sidekick.
You do.
Is someone injured?
You know there's a Northshire cleric, a pair of them.
Is someone injured?
So if there's a beaming sidekick, actually the scary
In the
thing is
light's
potentially
name.
the trade?
Yes.
Okay.
In the
All right, I'm
light's
sold.
name.
I'm still scared for Casie.
Very.
Why are the ones so powerful?
Dude, when you draw all 6 of them, yeah,
Hey, I
bad
got you,
things
friend.
happen.
Legion of War gets cut down by Light Wardens.
Sure does.
Who dares defy this ancient land?
Not looking good. Divine Spirit could enable a heal target here if he doesn't want to use this sidekick.
I want to lead with heal.
Yeah, seems right.
I wonder.
What if you play Blade Master first and
Oh.
heal that?
You know what? He doesn't have another Divine Spirit in the deck, actually.
Nope.
Yeah, that's the. I think that's a major point of consideration then. Ooh, does that change anything?
Does what change anything?
That inner fire.
Two more heals each on these Light Wardens. Going to connect phase.
Oh gosh, time. It does not feel like it's been as long in this turn.
Yep. I have not found lethal yet. If it exists, it might.
That is a big outcome.
That Divine Spirit plus Nephicet Ritualist combination that came into hand got very interesting in terms of, like, not necessarily looking for lethal with Divine Spirit Inner Fire, but looking for it with the Light Wardens instead. I don't think you could make enough heals happen with enough mana to spare. Casie fist bumps the swipe!
Takes metal.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Dead, dead, dead. Everything is dead, Dave.
Except a Northshire Cleric. 2 of them, in fact.
4 cards remaining. We're back in this territory for BoarControl.
With Casie knowing there's a Ritualist left, knowing there's a Divine Spirit left, I think you do kill the injured Blade Master.
He needs gas from this Psycho Pump.
What's gas?
Armor?
Not that.
To me.
Nope. It's the opposite of that. Again, we're just starting to approach the point where it's resolving in a way that Boar's cards just can't beat the cards that Casie has on board. I agree with this. He just kind of has to power spike this turn.
Almost out of cards.
He can't sit back and pull a couple of draws. Power Word Shield was one of the cards remaining
He
as
needed
well.
Is a Pyro left?
No, he pyroed. He
Oh,
has
yeah,
one
he's one
pyro, and
pyro.
he did the poisonous thing early on. Apologies, we've also lost our spectator account since the issues earlier, so we don't have full access to the decks anymore.
How does he win?
He does
Trade? Oh! Snaps off the Nourish.
Did we never play the minion that turn?
I don't know, man. He's super dead. I really wanted to hit the Acolyte because it forces draw too.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about it too. Forces draw 2, you then trade again, it's draw 3. Ball's already ticking at that point. When your opponent's already on fatigue 3, sending 5 damage into an Acolyte Pain is more damage over time than sending 5 damage face. Casie kind of tunneled right now, just taking as much damage out of play as possible, and I respect that philosophy in the position that he's in. If Boar cannot deliver lethal, it doesn't matter how slowly he fatigues, he just has to fatigue.
$16.
This is kind of why I wanted a 5 Feoris and a 6 drop in play last turn. This kind of situation.
This is solved for Casie. He's got it. Slam that Hidden
With
Oasis.
the Hidden Oasis,
GG.
Yeah, fair enough. Hidden Oasis, Oasis Surger.
Let's go ahead and play Elisa then.
Elisa Oasis Surger. Wait, what the? Wait, all right, well, both, whatever. Fine. They all win.
They all win. Do whatever you want.
It's fine.
You have best.
Casie, 2-0, same fashion. Warrior wins. Druid wins the unfavorable. What the heck?
The lineup is... I mean, we're going to have this debate, and it will rage on, I'm sure, after this. And I'm sure when I get off broadcast and check my phone, I'm going to have various Discord messages and tweets from various people. There's definitely a point of disagreement over this lineup, but every series we've seen it involved in, it's played out in some bizarro world fashion that isn't really what either side was expecting. Because we've just been seeing unfavorable matchups get won. We saw the Mechathune beating that Casie took, and then we saw Priest winning Druid winning unfavorables against Priest on both of the other occasions with the Bunny Hopper series, and now this Casie series that we just watched.
It was just exactly the same.
Yeah.
I said it with the lists were I didn't think the outcome was going to be the same.
It was exactly the same, but without that big 20-minute delay in the middle. That was nice that we actually just were able to get straight through it.
True story.
Big improvement, that one.
I mean, Bunny Hopper even set up too. You expect the game 3. When Casie talked to me about this, he said it's about the game 3.
Yeah.
But it was only about the game 2. So let's hear from Casie. Casie, can you hear us?
Yes, how are you guys?
I'm doing fantastic. But my gosh, 2 back-to-back games, Bunny Hopper and you now overcome the Druid versus Priest matchup in some bizarro world circumstances. So I want to get your thoughts on it. Some of the key moments in the match and what's going through your head in some of these high-tension spots where Boar is just drawing a million cards.
It was really tense. The matchup Druid against Priest, or generally Priest is slightly favored against every single deck in the game except Warrior. And if you go 55, 45, 60, 40, I still have a 40% chance to win or 35% chance to win. It happens every now and then. But Priest is really strong, and his opener was not too bad, but I had the very best card as an answer, or my only answer card in the early game, which is Loti, and then he just had to overextend his Divine Spirit into it. So he lost a lot of reach, he lost tempo, and since it's a pure aggro or tempo-oriented deck which Priest is, and then he also lost a lot of percentages there. And also I think Silence is really good in the mirror, but if Silence would have been anything else but not a second Silence, he would be in a much better spot in this matchup. And that's why I think Bunny keeps winning as Shaman against Priest, and that's why I think we keep winning against Druid as Druid against Priest, because they play double Silence instead of an additional minion.
So I want to ask
additional minion.
I mean, one minion makes all the difference,
It
right?
does. It does.
I want to ask you specifically because we've been arguing back and forth on this idea of your lineup versus the BoarControl Pheno kind of lineup that you and Bunny were playing, that they were playing. There's this point of contention as to whether anyone's overwhelmingly favored, and I think it comes down to thoughts on Druid versus Paladin. What is your win rate in that matchup as Druid?
It's if you play one Howl, you can't win. Then it's 35-40. If you play double Howl, double Innervate, and MC Tech, you are slightly unfavored. But if you play one Innervate and double Power of the Wild, you become 62 or something. Because Power of the Wild, after Oasis Searcher, just creates scenarios where you create so much pressure that they have to clear, and then you just bomb train them and they die. I'm not even trying to fatigue them at this point. I just straight up kill them every single time. Sorry?
No, continue on. This is for you.
Fatiguing this Paladin that has potentially a what's it called? Tyrion or additional burst. Or today I practiced a lot of Druid versus Paladin, and Vyra holy wrath me for 25 with 0 cards in his deck on turn 9. Then I lost 6 games in a row. I'm okay, I'm gonna lose again, and then I won 12 in a row, and I'm okay, this is fine. Then Buddy played it, he won 7 in a row. Okay, this is normal now.
Casie, I'm sorry if it hits a bit of a rough spot, but taking the beat that you took versus Yarla with the Mechathune, that was obviously pretty rough, and you were clearly quite frustrated from it. How do you bounce back from a loss like that, get right back into the right mentality, and then find the joy in playing the game and find your focus again to compete?
I just have usually my 5 to 10 minutes where I get angry when something really bad happens and keeps happening. And then before I lost to some weird stuff, or then in my head is okay, some people gifted me wins, and I'm I should be 1-8 right now. How am I so bad? how can I improve? And then I just talked to like for you for example, or to Bunny, and then I felt much better. And then I'm like, yeah, just like 5 to 10 minutes. Even if I would get 8-0 and lose a game like that, I would still be upset for 10 minutes and would start screaming because I want to win. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good my opponents are. I always want to do my best. I always want to win. And I'm not happy about a 5-5 score. Like I am actually disappointed in myself being 5-5, even though like this group is so stacked. I just want to do better every single time.
Very, very well said.
Yeah, and I can vouch for that. I've been at a lot of events with Casie, and he is a very positive guy generally, but he is immediately annoyed after every game of Hearthstone that he loses. You just give him a minute, and then he's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yes.
All right, well, Casie, we got about a minute left. Anything else you want to add?
No, just I don't know. That was a fun series. I finally won.
Finally won for the 5th time. Let me mark that down real quick. Casie, you sit at 5 and 5. I'm sorry, continue.
Yeah, sorry. At least I won some unfavorables to that, or like one.
True story. It's a true story. Well, sometimes you're owed one, and I think in this one, you did excellent work. The tools you had, and you walk away with the win with this one. Casie, you sit at a 5 and 5 score. You still got a playoff run to make. You can still make it to that global final. Keep it up, brother. It's always good to talk to you, and we'll see you next week.
Well played.
See you next week. Hopefully. Bye.